So actually, we have some work to do. Okay? Now this is the start of the presentation. What I want to show it to you are some interesting ideas. Some of them you will hate. Some of them you will love. And hopefully some of them you will use every single day. Right? In your life. For the rest of your life. So remember this moment today. This is a big deal. Kind of rising expectations while we have technical issues. So my name is I'm so stupid sometimes. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. What a design.
It's wonderful. Right. Cool. So this is me. I like to smash things around. I've been doing it for a while now, for 7 years at least. And as a proof, I'm going to smash something at you now. And I'm not kidding. So, these are anti-stress balls. So do we have somebody in the room who is really under enormous pressure right now? Well, maybe not now, but... Okay, yeah. You don't count. Maybe somebody who has a massive project, maybe a massive government project, public sector project. Okay, you'll get one. It's supposed to be like that. I was told by a psychiatrist. It's better to show like this. This is actually the best thing you can learn today. If you want to kind of invite somebody to talk to you, instead of throwing a ball to them like that, you kind of throw them like that. It's more inviting. The best thing you can learn in my talk. So somebody else maybe? Okay. So I also have a book, a thick book, but I'm not going to smash it for now. Okay? So, well, this is how I used to look like. I like cartoons. This is kind of my little character here. And indeed, I co-founded Smashing Mac back in the day. 7 years ago now. It feels so old now. Oh, it doesn't matter. But today is, of course, not about Smashing Mac. I don't want to talk about this. Again, I want to talk about some techniques. But I want to start with a little story that has nothing to do with responsive design at first. I want to start with this. Does anybody know what it is? It's a building, yes. Thank you. No? Sorry? No, this is a very specific building. So you are good people, you don't know. The thing is, well, I was in Berlin, last two weeks. And as it happened, I had my birthday in Berlin, right? So if you have a birthday in Berlin, what do? You go to the party. So of course I had to find out what is the best place to go to. And there is this damn place, which is as exclusive and exquisite as it looks like, right? It's called Berghain, right? So do you know anyone who works or, lives there? Brilliant, we'll need to talk later on. So the problem is, so you have to imagine me walking around 1 a.m., 1:30 to this wonderful building, and then waiting in the queue for an hour, and then lots of people waiting in the queue just like me, trying to get in because it's so exclusive. You have to be, not everybody is allowed to get in. So you wait in the queue for an hour or even more, and then you go through this wonderful maze, right? This is the point when it gets really slow, and everybody is kind of looking at you, and have a team of bouncers, as they called. There's 7 security guards. 7 security guards who are all waiting in the entrance, right? And they're scanning you and monitoring you and checking who you are, right? So there are some rules. I read some articles on the web of how to get in. You don't need to wear something extra, like too fancy. You should be silent while you're waiting in the queue. You shouldn't look at the bouncers. I memorized it all. I kind of it's hardwired in my head. So I'm almost there, right? And this guy looks at me and says, no. Now, you need to understand, it was a bit disappointing. After 1.5 hours of waiting, you just get a no, and he wouldn't talk to you. Now, this is not the worst part. The worst part is, you see this alley here, right? Well, you need to imagine like 400 or 500 people waiting in the queue, and you need to go all the way back, the wonderful walk of shame, right? And you kind of pretend that you kind of just got off the phone call and you have to leave for work and stuff like that. But everybody's watching you and kind of think, what's wrong with him? Maybe he's not good enough or something. Maybe something's wrong, right? And this is my wonderful transition to responsive design, because most responsive websites are not good enough today. The problem is, we think that responsive design looks like this, right? As designers and developers, which is true. But for many clients, responsive design is way too much. It's way over the top. It's way too heavy. The performance is bad. And if you build a responsive site, it's way too expensive. I like this quote by Tim Brown. I'm sorry for the guys who actually attended my workshop today. Just a couple of slides which I think are really important. Designing for the web is like visualizing a tesseract. We build experiences by manipulating our shadows, their shadows, right? So as designers and developers, what we have to do today, because we have so many different variables that exist out there, like be it screen resolution, be it screen density, font rendering, all these things, they increase the complexity of the web, right? So what we are trying to do is to create some sort of a system like that, where we just put dots in this across all the different axes and dimensions to ensure that we create a system that works across all the different devices. And it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So no wonder, I kind of have to jump here. So no wonder that many clients think that this is true, right? Now you do a research, IA, visual interface design, front end, but making it responsive, right, is what costs money, right? And the other thing is, this is also the reason why many clients think that native apps are the way to go. The native CSS in an iOS app is so bad, I took the unprecedented steps of deleting it and reinstalling it just so I could delete it again, right? Now, there are many, many bad native apps out there. So if a client comes to you and says responsive design is too bloated, it's too heavy, it's too fat, please point them to this article, because if they find a responsive site that is bloated or fat, well, this is not responsive design's fault, right? This is designers and developers' fault. So let's take a look at some examples. Specifically at some examples and case studies of how responsive design worked or works in real life, okay? So of course, when it comes to responsive design, usually you go mobile first. This is kind of a more traditional way, right? How many of you are actually using mobile first approach or content first? 2.5? Okay. So when it comes to, if you think about responsive design, often it's kind of a strategy to optimize for mobile, but it's kind of a wrong way of looking at it. It's just a technology, right? And it's also a new mindset, of course, but it's more about priorities. So responsive design forces you to actually focus on content and consider content first. Consider core functionality first, and then you move from there. But thinking about responsive design as a set of front-end techniques is just wrong. So content is very important. And specifically, there is this kind of notion of content parity on the web, right? But content parity doesn't mean that every experience is identical. It means that the content is always available, be it on a mobile device, be it tablet, be it anything else, it doesn't matter. Users are weird creatures, right? So they expect all content and all features to be available everywhere. It doesn't mean that all these features and all this content have to be displayed and accessed the same way, right? But they have to be available, right? And this is kind of the point here. So if you look at the web, you'll find two different cases. You find kind of one-to-one mapping, where the design on mobile and on desktop is almost identical, right? So this is an example for that. So we have a design with Portland, right? So you have a big feature image at the top, right? And then it doesn't really matter if you resize the window or not, right? You still have this prominent feature image everywhere. Then as you scroll down, kind of get some information about the event and what's going on and stuff like that, right? But in terms of content architecture and content structure, it's basically one-to-one, right? So if you go mobile space, you still have kind of the same structure. So there is not many things are different here, right? And you still have this image. Now, of course, not every website can look the same one-to-one everywhere, right? So more often you have things like that happening, where you have a lot of scrolling on mobile, and at the same time you do a lot of clicking on desktop. So here's a website of WWF, and of course they have a lot of content to show, right? So basically what you have is, well, a lot of content. News, you also have some information about the events, and also the organization itself, right? But what's interesting is the navigation. Every single item is a drop-down. Every single item is a drop-down. Species, places, threads, our work about us, how to help, donate, adapt. Everything is a drop-down. Now, that's a lot of content to show, right? And it's also a lot of navigation to kind of display. Now, when it comes to mobile or responsive design in general, you have to prioritize. So when it comes to mobile, they had to prioritize. So how did they prioritize? Well, you have two buttons in the mobile view, donate and adapt. And these are the most important things that users have to do on the site. But the rest is still available, kind of accessible, right, if you click on this icon here. And then you go kind of deeper, then you get into the navigation, into the section, and then you can navigate further. But the point is very critical. They had to reduce this whole amount of navigation to two most important links, right? These two things are links, right? Now this is very different. It's also a very different interaction mode, but shows how important content priorities are. And you know how it works. You start a new project, but you never have your content in time, right? The content always comes in, is sent by clients at some point during the development phase or maybe design phase, and you just want to get your content in time. So, as Sarah said, it's okay if we don't have a complete content up front, because this is usually not how it works, but we do need complete content structure first. We need to understand what we're designing. How many of you end up designing lorem with lorem ipsum all the time? Do you enjoy the wonderful experience of designing with lorem ipsum? Do you know exactly what data you are working on? Of course not. This is a thing we have to tackle. And it's very interesting to see what the British government did with their redesign. Have you heard about them or what they did, the work they did? Okay, a couple of people. Now this is just remarkable. They actually show how an organization, as big organization as British government is, right, can be transformed digital space completely into a very modern and very smart organization. So this is the current website they had. And over the last 2.5 years, they spent a lot of testing and a lot of work on content, specifically on content, right? So let's maybe just look very quickly into what they did and how they did it. So they started back in 2011, and they had a couple of typical characteristics of a decaying system. I think that most of you will be familiar with it. You have this wonderful, complex, bloated monster, right? This bloated system, which is slow, it's huge, so many people are involved into developing and maintaining it, right? It takes way too much time. It also has a very complex architecture because it evolved over time. You have very outdated and heavily customized legacy CMS. I mean, this is probably, everybody is familiar with it, right? Big legacy CMS, increasing maintenance, development costs, an inconsistent, fragmented online presence, because at some point you need to go mobile, so what do? You go native app, so you create an iPhone app, then you think, maybe I create an Android app, let's try an iPad app as well. Then you end up building features, then you build a feature on a mobile side, maybe you can then build it later on desktop side, at some point maybe you build it on an iPhone app, and so on and so forth. So you have a very fragmented experience for users. So in the end, they can't find what they're looking for in some platforms. And also, because British government is such a big organization, you have duplicate content, which is authored by different organizations, and then submitted on the site. So mess. Basically, you can sum it up as a big, big mess, right? Which results in steady increase in user complaints and user requests. So they wanted to have a new content-focused digital strategy, which is very strictly based on user needs, right? Which is very untypical for most political organizations, I would say, right? But this is very interesting, right? So I like this tweet that one of the developers of the team tweeted. Every superfluous page we create on gov.uk is one more dead end for an angry, frustrated, confused user. gov.uk's team seeking the irreducible core, right? Now, they were thinking a lot and put a lot of thought and effort into defining what the core content is for British citizens, right? Now, as you may assume, that's a lot of work, right? So, a couple of things they actually wanted to do. They wanted digital content on the site to be managed centrally, as opposed to on departmental level, how it was done before that. They wanted to apply the service thinking that we know from startups to government. Now, this is a big, big deal, right? Applying service thinking, like considering users as customers, to government is a big deal. And they wanted to radically simplify the digital footprint. This is how they called it, right? Both in terms of content and technology. Now, they had 400 organizations. 400 organizations, right? Each of them had at least one website, okay? And overall 75,000 pages. And the goal was to bring this content all together in a way that it would be manageable. And I really like this quote by one of the user experience designers in gov.uk. Sarah said that users don't really need to know what institution is responsible for a specific task. They need to find answers easily. So the government structure can't be the main point of interaction. The content should be, right? So this is what cool people are used to, but definitely not what governments are used to. So what did they start with? Well, they started by actually selecting and crafting the most important design principles that would actually guide every design decision that they would do during the design process, right? And what's interesting is that most of these things are not very specific. You might want to think that these principles should actually kind of be precise enough so that you know exactly what to do. But instead, they're kind of showing the ways of how the government should operate. They're also showing the ways of how the website should interact with the user, right? And if you're a customer at, let's say, a cool company like MailChimp, you kind of enjoy the experience of being a customer, right? Or maybe you have other companies like this bank, right? So you actually want to be a customer. So what they wanted to have are British citizens who would love to go to government.uk to explore information about the British system. Is that crazy? Or you don't care anymore at this point, do you? Yeah, I find it so exciting. I'm so sad now. That's okay. But we'll pass it and give me just a couple of minutes. All right? And they also show examples of what it means to be, what these design principles are and how to use them. And once they had these principles crafted, they wrote a content style guide. And they actually wrote specifically the words that are not allowed to be used, like all these superfluous legalese words, right? Agenda, combating, collaborate, advancing, countering, deliver, commit, pledge, and stuff like that. They specifically said that these buzzwords and jargon are not allowed to be present on the site, right? And they did a lot of cut sorting, and they did a lot of categorization, classification, grouping, and so on. It took a lot of time because they had a lot of data. And they created user stories. And they helped define the content's main scope, or this core content that we talked about, right? So all content was rephrased as a set of user needs. They had 1,800 user needs. That's a lot, right? Did you just imagine doing it on your own? That's a lot of fun, right? So they all were classified as stories. Each was assigned a specific format. So is it a page? Is it a quick tip? Is it quick guide? Or is it maybe multi-part complex guide? They also had priorities and tags assigned to each user need. And they built a special system which they called Needotron. Kind of weird name for a system. But they built a Needotron which is now open sourced as well, which helps you create these user stories, classify them, group them, tag them, filter them, and then adjust them as you need. And this is what it's looked like. I don't know if you can see it in the back. But the idea is, well, you have all the information about all the user needs, right? And in order for a user need to appear in the system, it has to match certain criteria, right? And then they go ahead and turn user needs into actual content. and it's open sourced. So there is a strategic review that they have. They consider 4 points, which had to be passed in order for the content or use case to appear on the site as a user need, right? What's the point of the page? Do people want it? Do they want it from the government? And can only government meet this need, right? Now this is very focused. I mean, if it's just a guide or, I don't know, some recommendation from the government, it would not go on the site because it's not focused enough. Now this is very strict, right? But it shows how it can be done, right? Now, if you think about convenient things that you do on the government website, maybe you want to get information about how to renew your passport or replace your adult passport, right? So you just go on the site, and they make it really clear what you have to do, right? This is just clear because it was designed this way. But it wasn't about the usability of the site, not only about the usability of the site, but also the speed. And the speed not in terms of performance as how we see it, but they wanted to make sure that users who look for this data, let's say they want to know how much exactly a renewal would cost, right? They had to find it as quickly as possible, and it means they had to find it on Google as well. So if you type renew adult passport costs UK, it was very important for them that the actual answer would be displayed within these 2 sentences or lines of code, of text, on Google, right? Which was one of the primary goals. This is quite interesting. So, at the end, they had 160,000 documents deleted, 116,000 documents deleted, 220 policies rewritten, 222 subdomains closed. It's kind of an evil number. And they overall created 22,250 user stories. That's a lot of work, right? It took 18 months to do, and over 200 people were involved. But in the first year after it was launched, they were able to save £542 million to save that much money after 1 single year. Now, that's a massive result. And you would think, why? What's so special? I mean, they go to the site and they find information. What's so different, right? Now, the difference is, if somebody needs to file a report, a text report, right? Normally, they would go to the site, they would download the document, they would fill it in, print it out, and send it by post, or they would call, contact the service by phone or whatever. And as it turned out, sending it by a postal address would cost £6.50 or so. Telephone, around £2.30. Online, 15 pennies. 15 pennies. And everybody has to do tax records and stuff like that every year, hopefully. Right? So this is how you save money right away. Now, this is very interesting because, well, it's a massive globe, it's a massive scale, but it shows that the result can be impressive. Okay? And what's also interesting, by the way, and then I'm finishing with it, really. I'm just too excited about it, I'm sorry. I have no idea how you can be excited about this stuff. It's so weird. It doesn't matter. So what's interesting is they had lots of organizations and they closed many websites, right? And the point was they had this one central area where all this information would be provided. Now, the thing is, you might see here organizations, right? Review a couple of organizations. So if they want to change something, they change it in this central area, and then this page gets updated. But in order for the page to get updated, you need to fulfill a user need. So they made it very difficult to make any change if they don't necessarily help the user. Because this is how it was established, right? And this is why they also designed a government service design manual, which is really pretty cool because the service manual tells all departments how to conduct their business. If a service can't prove that there is a use case for specific content, it just won't go live. Boom. Now, this is a very interesting approach to government. Oh, I'm too excited about this stuff. Crazy. Right? And they also built some tools, like these dashboard tools, where they actually monitor publicly and let the user and the British citizens monitor what's going on, what the activity is like, what guides are being used, and everybody can actually look into it and see what's going on. And the best thing, and now I'm flipping out, and now I'm like crazy, it's all open sourced. Completely open sourced. All tools open source, the website open source. You can use it today. Just let me know who I have to convince in this damn country to change this, right? If I can change it, if I could do something to make it change, I would love to. It's just amazing. Oh, it's so amazing. Calm down, Vitaly. Calm down. Let's talk about web design now. Whew. Okay.
Were you involved in developing this?
Me?
Yeah.
Do I look like a person who is involved in this kind of thing? No, I'm too stupid for that. So, now this was just an example of what you have to do sometimes, maybe not at such a large scale, but what you can do in order to emphasize user needs and emphasize core content. And core content is very important. Be it responsive design, separate mobile site, doesn't really matter. You can do some clever tricks with responsive design techniques, user interface techniques as well. One of them is what you can do with icons. So the thing is, icons are usually designed for a specific resolution. So if you just scale it down, it doesn't look good, right? So the idea is, well, we know that a specific design, usually designed for specific resolutions, so we need maybe different levels of fidelity and interactions for different screen resolutions. So we could have something like this, right? So depending on the viewport, depending on the screen size, the icon might need to change as well, right? Now this is the point where I flip out twice, right? Where I'm going nuts because this is so cool, right? I can look at it whole day long, right? Now there is a lot you can do with icons in general. Now you can also play around with this nubby icon, which is how it's called. You can use SVG if it says something to you, which has a very decent support as well. So you can have this kind of really nice, subtle, smooth interactions, right? If you want, you can actually even style specific parts of your icon to make them, to change them. For example, to make them thicker or thinner and so on without actually changing the actual image files, just by using SVG. Or you can just even, by hovering on an image, actually make it light bulb, which is quite cute, where the thickness and the colors and everything change on hover. But normally, you would export PNGs from Photoshop, and they're basically dead files which just live on the web. Now you can actually manipulate with all the little details, be it lines, be it strokes and everything, which is really fancy. And we need to talk about fav icons. Do you like fav icons? Yes? Who likes fav icons? Brilliant. I like you a lot, right? Because fav icons are very cool, and we can make them responsive as well. Are you ready to make fav icons responsive? Yes, brilliant. So here's what we can do. Depending on what the user does, be it the number of emails in inbox, or maybe it's like a notification or something else, we can actually change the fav icon on the fly, depending on what the user is doing. So this could look like this, right? I don't know if you can see it, right? But you can actually add numbers or specific conditions or specific states, and it's very easy. And also what you can do beyond that is adding some metadata to our good old links. So, for example, if you have a link saying, we recently posted an article, wouldn't it be nice if it kind of conveyed the number of comments this article has? Or if it's a video, well, this is such a dumb cat, right? Wouldn't it be nice to know how long the video lasts? Just to know how much time you are going to, basically, spend meaningfully, right? So this is also things you can do on the fly with responsive design, very easily. Okay? Okay. Are you optimistic, people? Are you optimistic? Who is pessimistic about everything? Oh, we'll have to talk. Yes. So, because we can be optimistic not only in real life, but also with the way we design and with the interfaces we craft. So, here's a weird idea. So when we think about performance, usually it's about, these weird guys who take care of performance. They have Linux machines, and they have normally lots of security measures, and we don't want to talk to them, right? They are weird. But we are design people, so maybe we can do something with performance as well. Because performance is usually not just about technology, it's also about how users perceive it, right? And there was this nice case study, a study by Stephen Shaw, who said that to create a noticeable performance improvement, it has to improve by 20%. Now, unless your code is terrible, improving your performance by 20% is very, very hard. It's very, very difficult. So why don't we fake it? We can fake it. Let's just try to fake it. So we can just perform actions optimistically. So if a user uploads a photo, right, we can just say, you know what, you're done. But the photo is being uploaded while he's doing his stuff, right? Or, well, this is actually what Instagram is known for, has become known for, right? Because it felt so instant, so smooth, so fast, but they lied all the time, right? Because all the interactions happened in the background. Also, we can adaptively prefetch content. So we can just analyze what the user is doing and prefetch content for them. So when they click on a specific area, they will see the result right away. I'll show an example in a bit. And we can kind of move bits around while nobody is watching, right? Just keep users busy for a while. So there was this, by the way, talking about online banking. There was this nice online banking website in the US. And they have a nice web form. And the last input field is, what's your favorite movie character? Why not? What's your favorite movie character? So people are kind of, okay, so what's my favorite movie character? Okay, so they just start typing, and they type and type, and it's not just an input field, of course, it's a text area, so you have a lot of space to fill in, right? So they just type, and they talk about their favorite movie characters, why not? And the thing is, the reason why they actually included this in the form was because the step before that was upload of a huge PDF file. And normally, so they have to print out stuff, they have to scan it, right, and they have to upload it. Now, the thing is, as you know, most PDFs, or if you just scan things, most PDFs are not compressed. And if you don't have a very good connection, it might take a while. You might end up with files like 60 MB, 70 megabyte, and so on, right? So it takes a while. So while the files are being uploaded, people keep writing about their favorite movie characters, right? Now, of course, you'd feel, oh, this is stupid, so am I supposed to write it actually, or what does it mean? Now, the interesting thing is that once you submitted your data, they actually studied what you typed, what you wrote in the text area, and then they created avatars based on in the dashboard based on what you wrote in your text area, which is so nice, right? Oh, this is so nice, right? This is pretty cool. Now, talking about this, you might think, wow, this is just crazy. So who is doing this? This is just stupid, right? Let's go to hugoboss.com, okay? So hugoboss.com, they load a bit of JavaScript to show this button on the page load. It's called write review. Well, okay, I don't know why they need JavaScript to display a button. It's a damn button, right? I don't know why they need JavaScript, but they need JavaScript for that, okay? Now, if they know that the mouse pointer is somewhere within 200 pixels radius within that damn button, they preload content that would normally be loaded once the button is clicked. Okay? So now that the mouse is within 200 pixels, let's start loading the JavaScript for writing a review. So once the users click on the button, well, it's right there right away because it has been preloaded, right? And you think, yeah, hugoboss.com. Let's study some papers, okay? So there is a nice, wonderful paper on faster progress bars manipulating perceived duration with visual augmentations. Okay? It's a very nice paper. Seriously, I'm not kidding. It's a very nice paper. And what they did is studying all the different loading bars and loading indicators, you know, when things kind of progress over time. And as it turned out, there are some loading bars which are perceived faster than others, right? So we have a winner. The optimal style is a backwards moving and decelerating read progress bar, which made the load time appear 11% faster than a solid colored bar. So if you need to improve your performance by 11%, this is the best way to do it. And it's very easy too. Your front-end developer will love you, right? Now, this is quite amazing. And you think, yeah, whatever. Well, there is a library for that. And Progress.js, which is also used on YouTube, by the way. A nanoscopic progress bar featuring realistic trickle animations to convince your users that something is happening while nothing is happening in reality. Okay? But we can be cool about that and say, yeah, okay, we can use stuff like that meaningfully and sensibly and responsibly, or we can be like Facebook. Okay? So, that's very interesting, because you might be familiar with two different loading bars that are used on Facebook, or were used on Facebook. So there is this one, like, I don't know if you've seen it before. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like waves, right? And then there is another one, which is like a clock, right? So as they found out in their A/B tests, there is a fundamental difference on how users perceive this one and how they perceive this one. Do you know the difference? No, you're not allowed to say anything. Yes? So what's interesting is when people see that, they think that Facebook is slow. When they see that, they think that their phone is slow. So you know what they turn to in the end, because they don't want to appear slow, although they are damn slow, right? Now, but we don't have to go this way. We can be just a bit more clever about what we do, right? So, as Raphael said, when an app is loading and you use this custom loading indicator, users think that the app is slow, but showing a standard spinny, they blame their phone. So they just let their users blame the phone. Why not? I have no idea how much time we have left because I'm so bad with timing. So you just...
How much do you need?
3 hours?
No.
No, that's okay. Or just throw me out of...
Some 15 minutes?
Okay, maybe. We'll see. So we talked about this kind of performance thing, but there is something we can do with our interfaces to make them a bit smarter too. This is where the concept of progressive reductions come into place. So I like this quote by Alan Greenstein, who wrote this nice article about progressive reduction. And he says, your proficiency in a product will decay over time without usage. As such, this proficiency is reflected in experience decays over time. This decays should be avoided at all costs. It's very interesting to think about user experience not as a permanent thing, but like a moving target. So it will decay over time as the user maybe uses the interface or doesn't use the interface, right? Now that's very interesting, and we don't need that, because we can actually change the interface depending on the phases of proficiency that when the user goes through as he or she uses the interface. So if you want to sign up, well, this is the button you're getting once you signed up initially, right? This is the first button you see. Now, if you keep using the interface, it kind of gets reduced to this. And then over time, as you keep using the interface and you know it so well, it gets reduced to this. So the point is, you kind of getting rid of all the things you don't need, leaving space for the things you need, right? And if you want to accomplish a task, you don't need that button that big all the time. You just want to focus on your task. But also, just...
That confuse the user?
That's a different story. So they did the testing, and the results were positive. Because they can still recognize what it does. But you need to do your testing, of course. But of course, if you don't use an interface for a while, now this button gets back to this stage, and this button gets back to this stage, right? And it's very interesting to think about interfaces a bit differently than what we're used to. And from a technical perspective, it does involve a bit more work, because you kind of have to establish proficiency profiles. You have to design different variations of your interface as the user goes through different phases of proficiency. If you're interested in it, there are two articles, one on progressive reduction and one on how they implemented it, which is quite clever. Oh, this is an example we probably don't need. But this is also an example of how you can actually change the interface depending on what the user does. So if somebody is using a mail application, but always goes into, let's say, all email or new email, you can actually change the position of the icons depending on the preferences, depending on what the user does. So if you're kind of tracking what the user does, you might want to consider actually adjust the interface as well. You don't have to, but it might be a good option to consider. Okay. So who wants to get more technical now? Nobody. Thought so. One person in the room. Okay. Just a second. Because we need to talk about Ryanair again. Now that we talked about it once, we need to finish them for good. So, well, thank you, Trina, for a nice start. So we're getting hardcore here. Well, not hardcore. Ah, damn it. Okay. So. Wonderful. We don't need any comment. Now, there is an interesting thing that you might have noticed, or maybe not. But it's very common for many airlines. Ryanair Exhibit A. I looked up fare yesterday, total of £123. Returned today, and fare is £237. Flush cookies, fare back to £123. Now, talking about Ryanair, right? Now, there is one thing that I respect about Ryanair, and this is their consistent evilness in everything they do. Now, we had this quote about Ryanair, I don't know who mentioned it, that they actually don't like customers and they want to embarrass, or what was it? Humiliate customers, that they're kind of crossing they're in there waiting for the plane and so on. Now, this is just Ryanair, this is fine. But what's interesting, there was a little interview where the founder of Ryanair said that, well, whoa, wait a second, we never promised that we're going to offer good customer service. We offer cheap pricing. This is what we're offering. Okay? Now, there is a theory, I don't like theories, but there is a theory which says that they actually want to appear cheap and bold and unliked. And why? Because this is what this stands for. If you look at it, this is kind of the branding they developed over time, right? So they want to appear... Oh, by the way, we have been filmed and streamed, right? Ryanair? Right? So maybe this is kind of a decision, not necessarily a fault. Maybe it was an actual very evil decision to actually be this way. Okay? Now, when I think about Ryanair, I think about this, as you told, right? So when I think about Ryanair, I think about pain, but we're using Ryanair, hopefully not for a long time anymore, but we're using it because the value they provide, or the money we save, is bigger than the pain we have to deal with, right? Now, I want to spend my lifetime work, to actually make them go away for good, okay? So this is kind of the reason why I keep doing what I do. This is my long-term goal. So how can we trump it? How can we make it better? Well, maybe if we kind of combine the values that we have with Ryanair, but just adding nice, delightful user experience on top of it. It's not that difficult. We are smart people. If we all come together, we'll do it like that, right? So if we just add nice, delightful experience on top of the values they provide, we can make it work. Because, well, this is where we want to be, and you know where Ryanair is. Do you? Yes. We just need to bring them here somehow. It won't be easy, but if you have an airline or you know somebody who is in the airline business, let me know. Okay? Now again, the key to this delightful user experience is to have an authentic, genuine personality. And this is what Hipmunk is known for. Do you know Hipmunk? Yes, maybe some of you? So Hipmunk is so wonderful. Now, this screenshot was taken a year ago or so. But I love them so much, right? So the point was, they're free. I want to give them my money, but they're free. This is so sad, right? So the point there is you can, of course, the same thing. Like we have usually, you can just type address where you're coming from and where you're going to. You can, select the dates and so on. There is nothing special about it. But what's special is the experience you get as you get your data. So you can sort results by agony. Can you see it here? So it's as if they actually felt my pain for Ryanair, right? So I can exclude certain airlines, which I obviously did, right? And I can actually say, maybe I don't want to stay in an airport for more than 4 hours. Maybe I'm willing to spend more money but by getting, a more expensive flight, but it would, come faster, or it would actually leave faster. Stuff like that. You can actually define this stuff, and they will customize the result based on what you like and don't like, which is pretty cool. Now, it gets even better, because you can actually sort the hotel options by ecstasy, right? Like right here. So you can say, well, I want to have a very special moment. I want to have a romantic dinner. Maybe I want to walk a lot. Maybe I want to hike a lot. Maybe I want to do something special, right? And they can actually sort this and rank it by what you need. Not necessarily by price, because price usually doesn't say a lot. It's just one criteria that we're using, right? But we might want to use different criteria. This is so cool, right? They changed the interface a couple of months ago. It's all gone. We have to invest now in Hipmunk. It's just sad. And it's even that, right? It sent me emails that my best friends don't do, right? Now is the best time to book Thanksgiving travel. Hipmunk did some research and found that booking your Thanksgiving flight before Labor Day could save you a boatload of money. Check out these prices. Like, best friends don't do it to me, right? It's just so nice, right? Oh, it's just weird. Yes. This is so sad. Okay. Now, there is one little thing I want to mention, just because it's so important as well. So, we can actually bring them down. This is what I'm saying. We just need to be strategic about it. Now, this is the image I have in my head when I think about newsletters, responsive newsletters. Have you designed or been involved in the process of designing a responsive newsletter? Okay. How many? Did you enjoy this experience? No. Okay. I can see why. Yeah, so who remembers Internet Explorer 6? Like, vividly remembers Internet Explorer 6. Okay, 7? 8? Okay, you're not browser people. Okay, this is okay. So there was a time when Internet Explorer 6 was a big, big deal. Do you miss these times? Those of you who, yes, maybe. So when I think about responsive newsletters, not only do I think about this image, I think about going back in time. Back in time when things used to be much, much different, when Internet Explorer 6 was a big, big deal, right? Now, these are scary times, but the problem is we have two good browsers these days. They know everything, they support everything. JavaScript support is consistent, CSS support is consistent. It's boring, right? So let's go back to good old days when things used to be horrible, okay? And the best part is, if you miss these good old times, now responsive newsletters is the worst you can get today. It's definitely the worst you can get today. And the problem is that most emails on mobile look like that. They become these wonderful journeys through alt tags, sometimes with colored background cells, right? But you have to kind of figure out what's written right here, and what is the first thing you do when you receive such an email? Delete or spam? You're mean people. Okay. Well, but I have my own skeletons as well. So most people just delete it. So there is no way for them to actually see this email in desktop, in normal email browser, client. Sorry?
I say I would throw out my phone if my email looked like that.
No, this is very aggressive. Okay. We don't, okay, I'll go this way. Yeah. Right? So you're nicer, yes. So the emails are kind of, sometimes they look like this, right? But the problem is that mobile email is a big, big deal today. So almost 50% of email opens happen on mobile today. Now this is a big number. Like almost 50% happen on mobile. Only 12% of high impact newsletters are responsive. Only 12%, 1 in 10, is responsive. And 80% of people, normal people like we, not like that guy, delete email if it looks broken, but do not throw out the phone right away, right? And most newsletters are broken, like literally broken. You have to zoom in, you have to pinch in, you have to pinch out and all the time. And it's not the best experience you can get, right? So here's the deal. If you want to earn a fortune within the next couple of years, establish yourself as a professional, responsive email newsletter designer, because everybody needs one, right? And all these big fashion companies like Esprit and Max and whatever they're called, they all send out email newsletters all the time, right? So if you can do it, I mean, you won't have the best 2 years of your life, but after these 2 years, you'll be a much more established person, I think, because this is so much work. And actually making it work is quite difficult too. So normally we don't want to have something like that where we can't read text. We just want it to be readable. That's all we want, right? And there are some nice techniques like what Twitter did. And it goes beyond just changing layout, but more specifically about strategically adjusting email. So this is the emails I sent out back, I think, a year ago or so. And it's very different, not only in terms of design and layout, but they actually decided that they want to send different links with the same email newsletter, different links to different parts of the content of the site to different users. So if you're on a mobile device, you're getting this button, get the app and try it now. Because on a mobile device, they want people to actually install the app. While on the mobile side, or on a mobile side, on desktop, if the people are using Thunderbird, stuff like that, well, they're getting this button, so they're getting redirected to the normal site, desktop site. One email, but two very different purposes, right? And they use all kind of weird techniques. Like, you can actually color backgrounds, because normally images are not loaded by default in email. So you can actually color background cells and increase font size of alt tags. How crazy is that? And increase font size of alt text to make sure it actually is readable. Which is pretty weird, but it works, right? So even if you don't have images displayed, you can still see the content, and I have to leave soon.
Not leave, just finish.
Okay, finish. Okay, so if you're interested in responsive newsletters, here is the chart you need to know. So responsive design is based on media queries, and there are clients that don't support it. Most clients actually do support it. So Android 2.1, but Android 2.1, right? BlackBerry, yeah, BlackBerry. Windows Mobile, yeah, whatever. Windows Phone 7, Windows Phone 8. Windows Phone 7.5 supports it, but Windows 8, no, of course not. Microsoft Surface, but yeah, Microsoft Surface, right? Now, there are three main problems. The first one is Gmail. It doesn't support it anywhere. Yahoo and Microsoft Outlook, but you know what I mean, right? But you can do some stuff. And if you want to do some stuff, you can use HTML email boilerplate, which is well documented. I like how Outlook works. It's just amazing. It says, hey, I Outlook, right? I can say, Outlook, I hate you. So I'll just add all the stuff you have to get, right? And it's very creative. So if you like creative thinking and dirty work, you'll love that, right? And I really stumbled upon this email. I'm very sorry for it takes just 2 minutes or so. I stumbled upon this blog by Nicole, and she says, I'm Nicole, an email designer and developer located in Seaford, Victoria. I really, really, really love email. This is so cute. Weird, in a weird way, because the code you get when you write or code responsive newsletters is everything but beautiful, right? But she produces really good work. This is what the code looks like in the good case, right? But she does good work. So if you're interested in it, you can please go ahead and check her blog. Or you could also use Ink, which is a nice framework for that. Okay, so just to conclude, the point of this little talk now was to present you with some ideas. Some of them you might want to use, some of them not. Hopefully some of them will be useful. But I hope that we can all make sure that the web as it is, as rich and versatile as it is today, actually remains as rich and as versatile as possible, even 7-10 years from now. So go ahead and create the best websites out there, because I'm hungry to see them. You know that. Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you. All right. Time for questions, please. Provocations?
Yes, please.
Come on. You can do it.
Something mean, like totally.
Yeah, there were some mean things. Yeah, you were mentioning Ryanair more than the sponsor of this event. So next time, please, you could do something like that. And now, if we are speaking about the company which is not Air Baltic, and the web page of this company which is not Air Baltic, you know, so that could work.
I'm objective when it comes to responsive web design. Not about other things.
All right. Yes.
Yes.
So
You have to be professional.
No, somebody was really suspicious that actually you are representing Ryanair. So, any questions, please? Do we have any questions?
Come on.
Oh, come
Just
on.
one, please.
No. I know the problem.
Well, okay, I have a book. So, if somebody wants to win a book...
Thank you.
See, this
Thank
is
you.
not all.
You know
But
what's
you're
the
not
problem?
getting it.
You know, what's the problem? It's hard to come up with a question clever enough, you know, to fight your level. So the question we
He's
have.
just weird.
Yeah, I know.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Is this on? What are the 3 biggest pitfalls of responsive design?
Maintenance. It's very difficult. Well, first of all, maintenance and debugging. So we don't have appropriate debugging tools yet. They're kind of, well, some tools are on the horizon, but they're not solid yet. Also, we think a lot about how we build responsive websites, but not about how we are going to maintain them in the future. So right now, we don't see many interesting use cases on what the maintenance looks like. So how do you make sure that your code remains usable even, years after it has been released? And also, if you think about media queries, they're actually just if-then statements, so they're not bulletproof. So if you want to change your layout dramatically, it's a big deal. You need to go through the whole code base. So media queries are not the best way, not the best of the best, what we would love to have. Now, and the third part would probably be, well, it requires a lot of rethinking. I know many people who are struggling with going mobile first because they don't know how to exactly to put the content in this little area that we have and then start from it. It requires a lot of time to actually get used to it. Once you have that, it's easy, but kind of get your head around, okay, so what goes into navigation, what I'm going to display on mobile device, what goes first, what is important first, what features do I want to present first. Now, this is difficult. But as long as you have kind of consensus with the clients, which can be difficult, it works. If you define very strictly what the core functionality is and what the core content is, then you can prioritize much easier. Now, if Gov.uk could do it with, I don't know, 18,000 or 75, 50, 57, whatever number of pages they had, well, we should be able to do it as well. So content, maintenance, debugging, and mobile first.
I have a question about that responsive email. I wouldn't throw out my phone, actually.
Sorry?
I wouldn't throw out my phone, actually.
Okay.
I was just kidding. It's just that Gmail app loads all the images as of late.
Yes.
It's just thinking. About the responsive email, have you built any responsive
Sure.
emails?
Yeah,
I
so-
see Smashing Magazine email looks very nice on all platforms, but it's very simple.
Yes.
How about something a bit more complicated?
So the thing is, I can show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the thing is, there are
You
some.
know, it's just a glass of wine, so we can wait.
Yeah, of course. For you, it's only a glass of wine.
I know.
So let's see if I have it here. I actually removed the slides. No, wonderful. Let me just switch to another one. Okay, so we do, all our emails are responsive. It takes quite some time to actually build responsive newsletters and test responsive newsletters as well. And the main problem is Gmail, because Gmail is a big chunk of our user base, so it's a bit of a problem. There are some things you can do if you really have to, by using very dirty and ugly and hella-like properties in CSS. Let me just find it quickly. Okay, yes.
All right, while you're looking for it, I need some help from you guys after Vitalis will answer the question. Please think of one suggestion or one important thing to take away from this event, so you could suggest that thing also to other listeners. So one thing you will take away and will start to work on immediately. I know a lot of competitors of yours here, but still, maybe you can share your intentions on what you will do tomorrow after listening all of this today. Okay.
Right. So, going back to your question, usually it is a good idea to use just one simple single column layout with width between 500 to 600 pixels. It's kind of a good, well, you can't do many things wrong if you go this way. So you use one column, it's a minimum target area 44 times 44 pixels because you have fat fingers. Just take a photo of it, yeah. And we don't have JavaScript, we don't have images and so on, but you can do things like this. So if you need to change the order of blocks, for example, you can actually do it using display table properties. So if you need to stack content, or maybe even more complex example, if you have, let's say you have a desktop view and you have an image right here on the right, and then you have a text and a button, you can actually move the image from the right to the left and then have the content appearing nevertheless. And how you do it is, well, you have your tables, because this is how HTML newsletter look like, and you're using this display table properties, which are dirty like heck. So you can use display table header, this group, display table footer group. So you have this concept of display table. Have a table, it has a header, it lives above the header. Have a footer, footer lives under the table. So you can just adjust the cells to display them above the footer and above the table and under the table.
If it's not too specific, please.
It is very specific. Doesn't the Gmail clear out all the display properties?
And I don't think so.
I think it does.
They do? Okay. Are you sure?
All right, this really takes some glass of wine, and you know.
Okay. No, it's interesting because actually we use it a lot, and it worked in Gmail.
Maybe you think
But
it's working, and it doesn't.
Maybe it was. Well, thank you. I will actually take a look at this.
It's just that I had a major tooth pain with email.
Okay.
Late, I have made a couple
We can talk about it over a glass of wine.
Yes. Maybe you should just.
For this poor soul's.
Yes. Thank you, Vitaly Friedman.